right, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Today, I'm asking the question, did David Berkowitz know what he was doing? Or was it all really just random? I asked this question because it brings up a very interesting point. Many serial killers knew what they were doing. A lot of them premeditated it. Or at least it wasn't so random as people may think. Now, the reason I specifically asked about David Berkowitz because in a May 16th, 1979 letter, he writes to Dr. Abraham, who was a psychologist interviewing him after he was locked up. Now, this was just over a year of him being incarcerated, right? So he's adjusting to prison life. He's a little bit stressful. You know, he's trying to fit in, trying to find his gang and everything, right? So he's still getting new to this thing. But he makes this interesting claim that he knew what was going on the entire time, that he had pre-selected his victims, basically, that he had planned these things instead of just being random. And it's very interesting because up until this point, they were just reckless murders. He claimed that there was no point to it, that there was no vindictive, there was no reasoning, it wasn't like a mob hit, that he was just selecting victims at random. And that was the part that terrorized everybody so much in New York. But he makes this claim that he knew his victims, that he didn't know them personally, but he knew what victims he was going to pick. So I want to read you this letter that he writes to Dr. Abraham, right? He says, "Dear Dr. Abramsen, since I've been at Attica and before that, Marcy, I've had few problems in adjusting to the regimented life of prison. In fact, I'm doing quite well, and I'm getting along with both guards and inmates to a degree. I've also done quite a bit of self-analysis, and I'm now mentally aware as to the reasons why I committed most of those crimes. I've known the true motives for quite some time. I deliberately kept them below the surface because of my fear in hurting certain persons. In other words, I did not know why I pulled the trigger. I did know why, in other words, I did know why I pulled the trigger. I did know why I deliberately killed. I knew who the person was whom I wanted to hurt, on whom I wanted revenge. These shootings were planned long before they took place. Nobody knows this. Nobody knows the reason but me and perhaps one day, you. I do think it would be a good idea if we talked. I also know that you're writing a book. I would like very much to help you with it. Hopefully, your book will not be one of those emotional blood and gore books. I would assume it would not be one of those grotesque novels, but one in which my mind would be the primary subject and not my gun. First, let me say I desire nothing for helping you with your work. Second, I must caution you because a book is being written about me now, and there may be some legal aspects with regards to my cooperating with you. I would advise you to check the legal aspects out thoroughly so as to prevent yourself from being hit with a lawsuit. You should also have your book copyrighted so that nobody will be able to use any of it without you and your publisher's permission. On Monday, May 21st, 3 men from the Federal Bureau of Investigation will be here to talk with me in the hopes of developing a psychological profile of myself in order to use it as a training implement for agents in their training school in Maryland. They feel that I could be of some help to them. Lastly, enclosed a correspondence form. If you want to continue writing and perhaps visit one day, then please fill out the form and send it to Service Unit Attica CF. Sincerely, David Berkowitz, Attica, New York." This is crazy to say because if you watch any interview with David, if you study his cases at all, he never claimed this. And again, this is the only time I'm aware that he makes this claim that he planned and picked his victims. Because his first victims, Donna Loya and Jody Valenti, he said they were random. They had just come home. It was around 12:30, 1 in the morning. They came home. They were dancing this disco, which was all the rage in the 70s and 80s. And their parents came home a little bit after them. Saw them sitting in the car, they were talking, and the parents said, "Oh, you're home so early." They're going inside to get the dog, and then once Jody had gone home, they were going to walk the dog around the block, right? Because it was a very safe environment, safe neighborhood. Murder wasn't really in anybody's mind. So the parents go inside, the brother is inside, and then they hear bang, 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 bang. David Berkowitz had saw Jody and Donna sitting in their car. And he went around the block, parked, got out, and walked towards them. He was 8 feet away on the back side of the car. He was walking towards it. He stops and goes bang, 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 bang. Hits Donna in the back 3 times, killing her instantly. Jody gets shot in the thigh just one time. She survives. But now she's in this crazy panic, okay? And then David runs away, drives away, goes back home, whatever he does. He claims it was random. He just saw them when he was driving by, okay? And now, in this letter, 2 years later, well, 3 years later, actually, almost 3 years later, he's claiming that he planned it. They also planned John Deal and all other victims. I'm just wondering, is this just his cry to get attention? Or is just, or they really plan it? Because what's interesting to me is that the whole time he was claiming demonic possession. He was also claiming that this dog, Sam, was one telling him to commit the murders. Now, I do believe that David was possessed, okay? Because if you go back to his childhood, he was a suicidal teen. He was setting fires. He did this into his adulthood too. Before he was murdering, he started about 1,000 fires, more or less. So he had a bad past before he started murdering. He was going to psychiatrists. He was getting in trouble. He was hiding in his closet under his bed for hours. Think about suicide. He sought the darkness. He said multiple times in his childhood that he was open to it, that he was seeking it, like it was his friend almost, right? Like it was candy. And when he was 13, he watched this movie, Rosemary's Baby, which was, I've never seen it, I don't want to see it, but he said it really captivated him. And he was interested in a lot of other horror movies. He was interested in dark music, right? He was more exposed to it than a normal kid was. And he talks about this over and over again. It's really interesting, the demonic possession he had and how much it took over him. And when you're demonically possessed, you're not who you are. Like, you're a different person. It's a demon who's taken over you. And demons have a lot of power. Okay, if you read the Bible, the story in the Bible, there's this man, he's been demon possessed for years. Everybody was scared of him, everybody stayed away from him. Until Jesus comes along and he sets him free. And the demons say, please, let us go into that herd of swine, which is pigs. Let us go to those pigs over there and go into the ocean. And Jesus granted them permission to leave the human and go into the herd of pigs. And then they ran all into the ocean and all died. So you see, demons have great power. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a abnormal psychologist. I don't know. I'm not a occult specialist, but I know that demons have great power and they can make you do things you're not aware of. So I really don't think David was aware of what he was doing. At least not fully. Because he never talked once about enjoying it, but he always talked about needing to do it more because he was never fulfilled. Right? He always had this anger inside of him. He had this pain, and he was mad at society. Okay? He was mad at women especially. And he was also, there's a reason he targeted brunettes. And I'll talk about that in another video. It's very interesting. It goes back to childhood, into adulthood, his mother. It's a whole bunch of intricate details involved in it. But there's a reason he targeted brunettes. But it begs the question, did he really know? Does demonic possession truly take over every part of you? Is there some part of you left, some part of your humanity, of the good part of you? Or does it wholly take over your body, mind, and spirit? Because the Bible says the devil comes to steal and to kill and to destroy. But I come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. Right, so when you have demonic possession, it's of the devil 100%. Okay? There's no good in you. So, still, I I don't know. I genuinely want to know. Like, what was going through his head? Was he in control at all? Because good and evil wrestle, okay? But good always wins. But if you're not choosing that good, then evil will win because you allowed it to. So, just going back to the letter, he says, in other words, I did know why I pulled the trigger. I did know why I deliberately killed. I knew who the person was whom I wanted to hurt, on whom I wanted revenge. These shootings were planned long before they took place. Nobody knows this. Nobody knows the reason but me and perhaps one day you. And again, I mentioned this is the only time David ever talks this way. And I wonder, was this his desperate cry for attention? For somebody for some chance for him to relive his glory days, right? To talk about the crimes again. Because if you look at Ted Bundy when he was on trial, Ted Bundy, his whole time incarcerated, he only spoke third person, okay? He would never talk about, he would never confess his crimes. But in his trial, before he was executed, he would ask the investigators in great details to describe the crime scenes, to describe the weapons, right? Describe everything in detail. And this helped him to relive the crime, right? Excuse me, in a very sick way, he was putting himself back in those crime scenes. He was seeing them post-mortem and what the bodies looked like, what the crime scene looked like in the daylight, right? So was David Berkowitz doing the same thing in this letter? Because he's only been in prison about a year now. It's been almost 2 years since his last murder. And in other letters around the same time in 79, he says if I was released, I would go back to kill him. I would go back to it right away, without hesitation. So I guess we'll never know, right? I mean, at this time, I believe he was still under demonic possession. Because you don't just get delivered that quickly. And David was still very angry. He was cursing the world. He was cursing God. He was mad at God. So if I'm speculating, just an opinion, I would think that this is just him being angry. This is him trying to relive his glory days. This is him trying to relive those murders, right? To have a chance to talk about them, right? Because every serial killer loved to talk about his crimes. He loved to insert himself into them. So I think that's all this was. He just wanted some attention. He wanted to, some twisted way, put himself back in those crimes. That's all I can speculate. I hope to talk to David one day. I hope to. That would be awesome to speak to him one-on-one, right? Because he has truly changed his life since then. This was 47 years ago, right? So he's been a Christian for about 36, 37 years. Truly has changed his life, completely set free. He has peace. He's asked forgiveness for what he's done, not excusing him, but asked forgiveness. So one day I hope to sit down with him, talk to him, and ask him these questions personally. Why'd you say this? Why'd you do this? So until then, I will continue to pray for him, continue to pray for you guys, and continue to bring you some crime documents, right? Talk about killers from the 70s, talk about crime today, right? So if you guys have any questions, you found something interesting, let me know. Also, if you want to know why David targeted brunettes, comment down below you want to see that, and I'll do that in the next video, or very soon, this week, next week. Until then, God bless you guys. Stay safe, stay smart, and I'll see you next video.